What is up, everyone? Darkside's Phil here for another edition of the Hateful Truth video game review series, and I just realized that I grabbed a drink for this and I didn't fucking bring it to the table. So, yeah, today we're going to talk about a game that I absolutely know, that this review will be controversial, and this review is going to have people who disagree. So I'm going to say right up front, I understand that's going to happen. And it's okay if you disagree, because when I review games, I review them in the context of everything else that I've played during the course of the year. And also in the context of all the other games that I've played, you know, recently, but also overall. And the game I'm going to talk about today is super highly anticipated by a lot of people, but at the same time, a lot of people are the complete polar opposite. They think that the game series has been played out, they think it's been milked, and they don't feel that this game series really brings anything to the table. I'm not really in either of those parties. I'm kind of seeing this with an objective view. I'm not a fanboy, but I'm not a hater, and I'm going to break it down for you as honestly as I can and give you my honest feelings on it. But I can tell you this right now, I do not agree whatsoever with the mainstream media on this one. The mainstream gaming media kissed this game's ass up and down. At least certain outlets did. Not everyone. You know what? I do sometimes overgeneralize, and I apologize for that, because I don't mean to say every mainstream site is going nuts. But as I predicted, IGN kissed this game's ass up and down, because the person who reviewed it is a Halo fanboy. Can I tell you something? If you are a fanboy of something, you probably shouldn't review it unless you have the ability to have an objective eye. Of course, if you are a lover of Halo, if you've played every Halo game since Halo 1, and every time that a Halo game comes out, you play it for 7 months straight online, and you have 12 friends who have a clan, and you jump online and play it, and this is one of your favorite series of all time, of course you're going to give Halo a good rating. Unless the game isn't even functional, of course you're going to really love the game. So, I don't understand how these mainstream outlets can pick people like that to review the game. So, for me, do I like Halo? Yeah, I actually do. I played Halo ever since Halo 2. Now, I had never played Halo 1, but last year, I actually played Halo 1 CE with John Rambo, the HD remake of it, and I loved it. I actually thought that the Halo 1 campaign was really fun, and I can understand why back then, when first-person shooters were just starting to become prominent on consoles, why that game was seen as such a big step and a revolutionary step in the right direction. Halo 4 is the first game in the series that is made not by Bungie. Okay, it's made by 343 Industries. And Bungie basically said they were wrapping it up, they were done, they're moving on to other things, and that Microsoft, if they wanted, continue the Halo franchise if they wanted to, but they were done with it. So 343 Industries took up the reins and created a new iteration that is a significant amount of content. And let me explain what. You've got a story campaign, which every Halo is a staple of the Halo universe. You always have a story-based campaign. You've got Spartan Ops, which is a series of 5 mini-missions that will be released weekly for the next several months, completely for free, that you can play cooperatively over the internet with your friends. So that's some added content. And then, of course, you've got the very robust multiplayer mode of Halo, which includes pretty much all of the classic modes that you remember, including Giant Belch, but including Slayer, including Team Slayer, including Big Team Slayer, including Oddball, Domination, Capture the Flag. You know, all these game modes that have been, Flood mode, which they now call Flood mode. I think it used to be called Infected in Halo 3, now it's called Flood mode. So all these game types that have become a staple and a tradition of Halo gameplay. The only one that's missing is, oh god, I'm blanking. Damn, I apologize, I am blanking on the actual name of it. But it was the game mode where you would play cooperatively with your friends against hordes of enemies that would come at you. And it was in the past 2 games. It was in ODST and it was also in Halo Reach. And I apologize, I'm really just blanking. Because they took that out, they've now added in this new Spartan Ops mode. So that's the main meat of the game, what you'll be doing during the game. So let's break it down individually, okay? First thing we'll talk about is the campaign. Now, we did a full 4-player co-op playthrough of the campaign of Halo 4, and I sigh because immediately when we did that, all we got was criticism. That's not what you're supposed to do. This game was the campaign wasn't meant for co-op. Yada yada yada. So let me explain so everyone understands exactly what I'm talking about and why there was some controversy here. Supposedly, the campaign of Halo 4 was designed to be played by yourself, solo. Okay, that's the story that everyone's going with right now. And supposedly, if you play the game solo, the campaign could be anywhere from 6 to 7 hours long, just on like normal mode. Now, I know several people who played the game solo, and here's what they told me. Yes, the game is 6 to 7 hours long, but here's why. The game actually has long stretches in the campaign where you're just fighting wave after wave of enemies with no checkpoints. Like, the checkpoint system apparently is horrendous in certain parts of the game. Whereas you may cheaply just get killed instantly by a grenade and then have to replay 5 minutes of gameplay to even get back to where you were from when you died. And that being the case, that means the campaign was too difficult and not enough checkpoints. Now, we played it 4-player co-op because the game advertised, oh, Halo's a game you can play with your friends. Play the campaign 4-player co-op, so we did. With 4-player co-op, the campaign's only 4 hours long. We blew through this campaign with little to no challenge, and the reason is, when you play 4-player co-op, you can respawn with no problems. You can respawn infinitely with no detriment except that you lose your weapon loadout, but you go back to your default weapons, which is fine, because the default weapons are actually pretty good. So really, if you play the campaign solo, it's too hard with checkpoints that that aren't frequent enough. If you play the game co-op, the game's too easy, and you don't even need the checkpoints because you just respawn and everything's fine. So it's insane amounts of difficult challenge to little to no challenge, okay? Now, some people complained, and they said, well, Phil, the campaign when you played co-op was only 4 hours because you didn't play it on a harder difficulty. You played it on normal, and you should have challenged yourself to play it as heroic or legendary. To which I say a couple things. Number one, we wouldn't have known that, okay? The game didn't advertise itself like that. We didn't know that the game was going to be so easy that we were going to blow through it like that. If we had known, we probably would have upped the difficulty, especially because you get extra achievements when you do that. Number two, think of every other game over the past several years that's had a co-op campaign and what the game does when more people join the game. I'm talking about Borderlands and Borderlands 2. I'm talking about Dead Island. I'm talking about, I believe Resident Evil 6 even did it. Any of these major games with co-op campaigns. What happens when more people are playing? The game ups the difficulty and adds more enemies. Oh, Serious Sam 3 was another example, a game we just played recently. The game automatically says, oh, look, there's 3 players, not 1. Increase the amount of enemies, increase the difficulty of the game by maybe giving the enemies better weapons or making them have more life or dodging more stuff. The game on the fly does that. Games have been doing this for quite a long time. So why is it that in 2012, Halo 4 feels it doesn't have to do something that's become a staple of all co-op games over the past several years? So that's a major detriment to the game, is you wouldn't know up front that the game isn't going to scale itself properly, and you may end up beating the game and being kind of disappointed that the campaign was so short. And I'll be honest, I was disappointed with the campaign of Halo 4 because I thought it was way too short. In addition to that, the story of Halo 4 is extremely cliche. In my opinion, it's been done to death, and it wasn't very interesting. So, for those, because there are critics who said, oh, Phil, you guys were doing co-op and you were bullshitting for the whole campaign, so you didn't understand the story of the game, and that's why you didn't like it, okay? Bullshit. And I'll tell you right now, if you have not played the game yet, and you don't want to hear anything about the story, right now, I'm going to do this, earmuffs, okay? Put earmuffs on, and then when I do this again, that's when you can take your hands off your ears, okay? But here's the gist of the story of Halo 4. Master Chief wakes up exactly where he left off in Halo 3, stranded on the ship Forward Unto Dawn. He stumbles upon this new race of enemies called the Forerunners, but I think they're maybe called the Prometheans, whatever they want to be called. And this is a race that feels that the human race is the biggest threat to the galaxy because they've expanded too much and they're starting wars and they're using up the galaxy's resources. So they feel that they're going to create this giant force of enemies that are going to attack humanity and get rid of them. Basically wipe them off the face of the universe. They almost feel like they're a universal defense force. So Master Chief stumbles upon this almost by accident and then returns to the humans in the what is the UNSC, I believe they call it in this game. Yeah, the UNSC. And he tells their leader, listen, we gotta go fight these guys because they're about to attack. To which the UNSC leader says, fuck that, we're already involved in another war, I don't care. And basically he's a stubborn douchebag and doesn't listen. So Master Chief takes it upon himself and also Cortana to go and take out the threat themselves, one-man army style. And he does. He goes all fucking Rambo, he goes in there, eventually he has to have a showdown with like the head of these guys. And that's the plot of the game, okay? Now, there are a couple other things in there that I don't want to spoil, such as there are a couple twists regarding Cortana that I don't want to spoil for everyone. So I will say there's some interesting stuff there with her. If you're a fan of the series for a long time and you've been following along the story with her all the time, this is a game that's going to tug at your heartstrings a little bit. So that's the general plot of Halo 4. So now I'm going to say earmuffs again. Earmuffs. So now if you've not been listening to the spoilers about the story, you can now listen to the rest of the review, okay? So that's the gist of the story of Halo 4. And if you've played the game, you know that I just hit upon all the points in the game. It's extremely cliche. It's been done to death. Oh no, you know, enemies are coming and someone has to do something to stop it. In fact, a lot of people drew parallels between the campaign of Halo 4 and Mass Effect, saying, oh no, the Reapers are coming. Oh no, the Collectors are coming. Oh no, in this game, these new enemies are coming and you need to stop them. So it's just kind of a very cliched plot. I don't think it's groundbreaking at all. I think that it's kind of cliche and boring. Now I'm going to be honest with everyone. I don't really ever think the story of Halo has been anything like, wow, knock your socks off, since like Halo 1. Halo 1 was cool because you had the Flood that were kind of like a surprise. You didn't know that that twist was coming. But since then, it's kind of like, the story's okay, it's cool, it's a staple of you know when you buy a Halo game, you're at least getting a pretty decent game. It's pretty much a surefire, spend $60, get a decent experience. But I don't think, besides people who are massive Halo fanboys who, oh, every time that a Halo game comes out, that's the only game I play for 6 months, and I have a clan, and I go nuts when I play Halo. Unless you're like that, I don't think there's anyone who really is going to agree and say that the story of Halo is like something groundbreaking and outstanding. It's just a fact. So that's that for the single player of Halo, okay? Spartan Ops, which I did do co-op with the same people who I did the campaign, unfortunately, I'll be honest, is too fucking short. It looks like Spartan Ops is just like a throw in there because they got rid... Oh, it's Firefight mode was the name of the mode that they removed from this game that was in the previous 2 Halo games. I think because they removed Firefight mode, they wanted to put something in just to appease people and say, oh look, there is a special co-op mode, and so they threw in this Spartan Ops, but it's super fast. We beat all 5 missions in less than an hour. What it really seems to do is just a way to give you some extra experience points to help level up your character in the multiplayer of the game. It just seems like a throwaway, and it doesn't really add anything significant to the game. It doesn't really even need to be played, to be honest. So in that regard, Spartan Ops, pretty worthless. So really what it comes down to is the multiplayer of the game. And I've heard crazy shit. Like, I've heard, again, polar opposites. I've heard some people say that the multiplayer of Halo 4 is the best multiplayer that it's ever been in any Halo game, and therefore this is the best Halo game ever and it should be rated a 10 out of 10. I've heard other people say they ruined the multiplayer of Halo 4, it plays too much like Call of Duty now, and this game is awful. Then I've heard people say the multiplayer of Halo was never good. You know, Halo was always just kind of a so-so average game, but because it was like the forerunner, it was the one that was there at the beginning of the console boom when first-person shooters were being big on consoles, that it's just always been regarded as one of the best series, even though honestly it really doesn't do much that's groundbreaking. So I've heard a crazy amount of stuff going on, okay? And my opinion is this. Halo 4 feels like a combination of Halo 2 and Halo 3, but is no more dual wielding, because that was like the #1 complaint with Halo 3. Dual wielding sucks, it's cheap, and it's bullshit, they ruined the game. So they took away dual wielding, okay? It's back to just having one weapon, or being able to switch between 2 weapons, which pretty much every other FPS game does. And I think maybe that's why a lot of people are drawing parallels between Halo and Call of Duty, because they're kind of doing just what every other FPS game does at this point. And it has loadouts, different loadouts that you can create. You end up with two to start, then you can make new custom ones where you have different starting weapons, different types of grenades, different types. You can customize the look of your armor, which is really neat. Different types of perks. Yes, there are actually perks in Halo now, where, oh, maybe you can pick up grenades off of dead bodies. Maybe you have more ammo in your weapon. Again, this is stuff that has been done already in Call of Duty, so I can understand the parallels that people are drawing to that game. I played Halo 4's multiplayer for an entire day straight, so at least like 6 hours of gameplay. And what I can tell you is this. Is it fun? Yes, it is. Halo 4 multiplayer is fun. Is it new and groundbreaking? No, not at all. In fact, it doesn't really feel like there's anything new in this game. Pretty much almost every game mode, if not every game mode in here, is from a previous Halo. Like I said, you've got everything. Slayer, Team Slayer, Big Team Slayer, which has the vehicles in it, Flood Mode, Domination, Capture the Flag. It's all from previous Halos. And some of the maps even are from previous Halos. In fact, there's this one map, Ragnarok, that is basically an HD remake of the same exact map from Halo 3, and I guess it was a fan favorite, so everyone keeps voting it. And it's kind of annoying, because you're online trying to play the game, and it's my first day of online gameplay. I'm trying to get a variety of gameplay in, and everyone keeps fucking voting the same map non-stop, over and over and over. I'm like, I don't want to keep playing this goddamn map, I want to play other stuff. But unfortunately, you're at the whim of the people who you're playing with when it comes to the voting system. So there's a lot of massive similarities to previous Halo games. The one major change between Halo 3 and Halo 4, no dual wielding. So basically, it's Halo 3 with no dual wielding. Does that make it good? Probably, because a lot of people didn't like the dual wielding. But does that make it amazing? Oh my god, my fucking knocked my socks off, jaw-dropping, amazing gameplay? No, it really doesn't. It's a solid experience. If you buy this game, you're undoubtedly going to find endless amounts of opponents to play against. You might get a little addicted, and for a couple of weeks you'll love it. If you have a clan of people who are playing with, you'll probably really enjoy it. But it's not anything groundbreaking. And I'm not saying that good games have to be different, but at least it's Halo 4. This is the first iteration from 343. It was their chance to make an impression and say, look, here's where we're taking Halo in the future. This is a new trilogy of games, and we're going to hook you so you want to play the next ones. I don't think they did that. I think what they did is they kind of made a paint-by-numbers, blasé installment in the Halo series. It had a campaign that was either too difficult or too easy, depending on how you played it. Didn't adjust the difficulty appropriately like every other fucking co-op game on the planet. Had a boring story that was very cliche. You have a Spartan Ops mode that's a throwaway mode because it's so fast and it really is pointless. And you've got online play that plays like Halo without dual wielding in all the game modes you've already played. So the bottom line is this. If you're a Halo fan, a major Halo fan, fanboy, whatever you want to call them, you will love Halo 4 because basically they listened to everything that people were saying from Halo 3 and they tried to improve the game based off of it. But if you're not, you might say, gee, what's the big deal about Halo? You know, I played it, it's okay, but I don't see why people are just so crazy about the game. And that's the bottom line. At this point, this series is kind of like paint by numbers. Just going by the instructions, step by step, through the motions to make a game that is acceptable, but it's not really great. And I kind of said this for years. Halo, it's a good game series, and it's a staple game series. It's the game series that you know when you spend your $60, you're at least getting a lot of gameplay. You're going to be able to play online with people for quite a while and have some fun. But it's not, wow, that was amazing. It's the best experience of the year, game of the year. And that's why I'm saying, like, an outlet like IGN, who gave this game a 9.8, basically saying it's nearly the perfect game, is completely full of shit. And it's completely irresponsible for them to rate a game like that. By no means am I saying the game is bad. In fact, I think content-wise, because you have so many multiplayer modes, like every Halo does, the game is a great bang for your buck, and it's pretty fun. But I really don't feel that the game is like, wow, amazing. I'm so knocked off on my ass because it's so good. For me, being that I play so many games, I've played every FPS game out there, I really don't feel that it did anything amazing at this point. And the fact that there are so many FPS games out there, Halo Reach and the multiplayer of Halo 4, I mean, were they really so different? Besides the fact now that they're adding in things that are making the game more similar to Call of Duty, I don't see what the main difference was. So, that's it. That's kind of my opinion. I completely acknowledge the game is a good game. I completely acknowledge the game can be entertaining, and for a group of people who have loved this series over time, they'll probably hold it high on a pedestal, because it looks like 343 kind of listened to what the fans had asked for. But for me, the common gamer and then people always argue, oh, you're not the common gamer. Alright, for me, a gamer who's not a Halo hardcore fanboy, I'm not really impressed. I think it's fun, but I don't think it's amazing. So for me, to be completely honest, I think the game is good. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's anything groundbreaking. And I really feel that most people will probably feel the same. I'm going to be fair, because the game does have a lot of content with the multiplayer. I'm going to give Halo 4 an 8 out of 10. Okay? I really do feel that it's a great game, but it's just not Game of the Year material. It's too blasé, it's too cliche, it's too paint by numbers, it's too exactly what I was expecting with nothing original. And when you have no originality, that's the point where you really need to sit back with your series and say, gee, I've now become so blasé and so unoriginal that do people even need to buy the next one? Or can you just continue, you know what I mean? It seems like, well, I just need to buy the new Halo because people are going to stop playing Reach now. Well, why? You know what I mean? If there's really not that many improvements and things that are great changes, why would you buy the next game? And that's really, I think, the level that we're at. If 343 doesn't do something really different with the next Halo that's like, wow, they really improved it by doing this, and wow, this is really addictive because of this new thing, or that change, or a story that's maybe gripping for once, I don't think that this series is going to continue to be as popular as it was when it was with Bungie. This was their shot, in my opinion, and I don't think that they reached that goal. I think that they tried to do fan service and do what the fans wanted, but that doesn't necessarily make the game overall a great game. It's definitely not Game of the Year material from a perspective of someone who's played all these games in the past year, okay? So that's it. That's my Hateful Truth on Halo 4. I hope it was informative. I hope that now you understand my feelings and you know whether or not you would like to actually try out this game. Maximum truth, minimum bullshit. I'm trying to cut to the heart of the matter, and I hope that this has been a helpful video for you. So, I'm DSP. Thanks for watching The Hateful Truth. I'll see you next time. Peace out.